Hello! Two young girls, Becky and Hunter, are longtime friends. They became close because they both love thrills similarly, and even a tragedy they went through does not make them reconsider their hobbies. In front of them is a huge tower, which points to the sky in the middle of the desert, and the friends set foot on its rusty steps. There's no one around, and if anything goes wrong, nobody will come to help. Becky and her husband Dan are climbing a steep cliff. The girl is nervous, but the guy encourages her to take the risky leap. Dan catches Becca in his arms, and they stop for a kiss.
Ew! Gross! You guys get a room!
Their friend Hunter has already climbed higher and asks them to keep up. Dan reaches the next point where he needs to set up a safety device, but a bird flies out of a crack in the rock and knocks him back. The man falls straight down. He is stopped by a device attached to the crack below. The couple is tied together with one rope to stop one of them from falling, but the rope is not long enough for the guy to reach the wall and grab onto the ledge. He asks Becca to unhook the rope so he can hang on the ring alone and reach the cliff. The girl does so, but the device can't withstand the load and comes off of the crevice. Dan crashes to his death. Almost a year later, Becky continues to grieve. She sits at the bar, listening to her husband's voice over and over again. Dan's ashes are still in a box at her house. The girl's father, James, can't bear to see his daughter wasting her life away, so he catches her in front of the bar. Drunk Becky is not happy to see him and tells him to get off. James advises against putting the guy on a pedestal as a holy martyr.
You think Dan is standing out here alone, drowning in booze, grief, sorrow, whatever the hell this is?
This is not the first time he has tried to get through to his daughter, but the gap between them only grows wider. The man doesn't let Becca drive, so she walks home. There, the girl feels even worse. In addition, she discovers that Dan's voicemail has been blocked forever. Becky can no longer hear his voice, so she starts mixing pills with alcohol. She is interrupted by a call from Hunter, who soon shows up on her doorstep.
You look, awful. Yeah, like really freaking awful.
Within a year, the girl has greatly promoted her blog, in which she talks about travel and does all sorts of crazy stunts. She says that Becky's father recently called her and asked her to help bring Becky out of her depression. To do that, Hunter came up with nothing better than to climb one of the highest TV towers in the country and scatter Dan's ashes from its top. Since the day of the tragedy, Becky has got a panic fear of heights and has given up rock climbing. The girl firmly refuses, but her friend assures her that this fear must be overcome in order to let go of the past forever and get on living her own life. In the morning, Becky eventually agrees, recalling Dan's admonition: if you're scared of dying, don't be afraid to live. Hunter is excited to hear this, and they head out into the desert. In a small diner on the way, Becky asks the waitress to charge her phone, but the service turns out to be for a fee. Hunter demonstrates a life hack you can do without a power outlet if you connect the plug to the socket of an ordinary light bulb. The TV tower is not marked on maps, and the waitress points to a flickering red dot high in the sky. Although the tower itself has long been out of use and is scheduled for demolition next year, the signal is necessary to keep airplane pilots from crashing into it. Hunter can't wait to conquer this peak and document the climb on her blog. Plus, it will make her money. The friends spend the night at a nearby motel, where Becca dreams of Dan still being alive and holding her in his arms. The idyll quickly turns into a nightmare, and the girl wakes up frightened. She gets into the car with Hunter, who is both driving and recording a video. She gets distracted from the road and crosses the highway with a truck driving by. The truck passes within a couple of feet of their hood, and she decides to put shooting the blog on hold. The girls make it to the tower, which is enclosed by a fence and a danger of death sign. They have to leave the car here and walk for 1 or 2 miles. Becky worries that they don't have enough water for a desert trip and have no food at all. Instead, Hunter brought a quadcopter and a selfie stick. At least having safety gear and a harness is comforting. On their approach to the tower, vultures are eating the corpse of an animal. Hunter posts the photo online with the words, "survival of the fittest" and "feeling peckish." Soon, they reach their destination, and Becky gets dizzy from the height of the structure. Memories of the tragedy keep haunting her as well. Hunter promises to stay by her side and support her. She resolutely makes her way up, and her friend is forced to pull herself together. They climb step after step, but the rusty structure begins to wobble. One of the steps flies off as soon as Becky grabs it with her hand. They're halfway up, and there's another 1,000 feet to go. Hunter counts on the safety rope to save them if needed. As the girls reach the first platform, 200 feet of outer ladder await them next, looking even more dangerous and fragile. With every step, Becca finds it harder and harder to continue, shaking with fear.
Okay, Bex, this is gonna look a little bit worse than it is. What the hell, Hunter? Let's just go back down.
For Hunter, her friend's reaction is only a sign that her plan is working. She's certain that Becca will feel better once she overcomes her panic. They get through the satellite dish that blocks their way, and Hunter even starts shaking the ladder to perk up her friend. Because of this, the structure's remaining bolts begin to slowly give way, but the girls manage to make it to the top without incident. Hunter pulls out the drone and records more content while she can. She hangs on the edge of the precipice and asks a shocked Becky to film this insanity. Hunter talks Becky into repeating the risky stunt. The girl decides to follow her friend to the end and plays with death too.
Next time you are ever afraid of anything, I want you to look at these and know that you have nothing to be afraid of.
They remember about Dan and scatter his ashes in the wind. Both girls weep bitterly for their close friend and lover. As evening draws near, the time comes to descend. Becky is the first one to come down from the platform, but after a couple of steps, a section of the stairs finally breaks off from the tower. The girl flies down and hangs only on the safety rope, just like Dan before his death. She is saved by Hunter, who manages to cling to the top. The ladder, however, continues to collapse like a card tower, and the whole structure goes down. Hunter uses the pole as leverage and lifts her friend up to her. They laugh in relief and shock, but quickly realize that now there is no way for them to get down. There's only a single rope, and it's not long enough to get to the next platform. They can't call for help either because the phones have no signal. In addition, Becky lost her backpack with water and the drone in the fall. It is now lying on the satellite dish below, in the emergency box on the tower, provided for such situations. The girls find binoculars and a signal pistol with a single round. Hunter notices that her friend has a wound on her leg and applies a tourniquet to it. Becky says the pain isn't too bad yet. For now, their plan is to simply wait, for someone must have heard the noise of the ladder falling. After a few hours, they start recording a video blog to kill time.
Well, don't worry, you'll still be famous if you fall. As the girl who died taking a selfie, now that is ironic.
Becky asks Hunter to be more sincere and step out of character. She reveals that the reason she started video blogging was Dan's death. Soon, through their binoculars, the girls notice a van parked near the tower. Though it appears abandoned, Hunter guesses that the cell phones were picking up a signal at a lower height, and in order to complete the messaging, they try to lower the phone as much as possible on the rope. This doesn't work, so Hunter descends down what remains of the ladder and hangs on just one arm. Their efforts are in vain, so the girls decide to throw the phone down. In order to keep it from breaking, they wrap it in Hunter's bra and sock and shove it into a sneaker. In this form, it reaches the ground, but the outcome remains unknown. Becky notices a tattoo on Hunter's leg that is connected to Dan. At the same time, her friend sees a man with a dog walking near the tower. The girls scream and throw shoes to get his attention, but nothing works. They decide to save the flare until nightfall. Later, Becky is idly watching old videos on her phone. She sees Hunter looking at her jealously during her and Dan's wedding. At this point, her friend asks her to shoot the flare, and the two men in a van notice that the girls are stuck on the tower. They drive up to the fence and see Hunter's car, but instead of helping the girls, they decide to steal their car. The girlfriends are in total despair. They spend the night on the tower under the flickering red lantern and take turns keeping watch to make sure they don't fall. Becky's wound begins to hurt. The girl asks her friend about the tattoo after all, and Hunter tearfully confesses that she had an affair with Dan.
I am so sorry.
For sleeping with my husband or me finding out about it.
For falling in love with the same guy.
They had been dating behind Becca's back for 4 months, but Hunter ended the relationship even though she still loved the man. After he died, she couldn't support her friend as she couldn't be completely honest with her. This becomes another incentive to let go of her husband, and Becky removes the ring from her finger and puts it on a chain. In the afternoon, the girls realize that a full 24 hours have passed since they dropped the phone, which means the trick didn't work. It's too risky to throw the second one. The girls are dehydrated and getting weaker by the hour, so Hunter plans to go down to the satellite dishes to get the backpack. As the rope is too short, the girl unhooks herself and jumps onto the plate, risking her life. There is no ladder below either, so the only way back is up the rope, which is out of reach. Using a selfie stick, the girl hooks her backpack to the rope and then leaps to the straps herself. Hunter climbs up, but at the last moment she slips and flies down like a stone. Becky's heart sinks, but soon she is relieved to see that Hunter has managed to hang on.
I landed on the bag! Are you okay? I hurt my hands! Real bad, I don't think I can climb!
The girl can't climb up, so Becky has to use her little strength left to save her friend. Becky quenches her thirst and writes a message on paper to send to the motel with the drone. Unfortunately, its battery begins to die halfway, and she must bring it back to prevent it from crashing in the middle of the desert. At night, Becky dreams that her friend is not with her and that she is being attacked by hungry vultures. She slowly turns her head and sees one of the birds picking Hunter's bloodied body. Becky wakes up, and her friend cheers her up in her usual manner. The next morning, Becky figures out how to charge the drone with the light bulb at the top of the tower. To do this, she climbs the pole with the last of her strength, but the prongs of the plug are too short to reach the contacts in the socket. To solve this problem, she puts her gold ring inside, and it works. What follows are impossibly long minutes until the drone is fully charged. During this time, the vultures, who have smelled Becky's wound on the leg, begin to attack her. This causes her to drop the backpack, but she manages to keep the drone safe. When the last bar turns green, the girl slips onto the platform. She vomits from overexertion and stress. In a couple of hours, the people in the hotel will wake up and the drone can be launched. Becky almost passes out, thinking of her father.
No, he was right about Dan. He was just trying to help me.
Falling asleep is too dangerous, so Hunter helps by distracting her friend with conversation. It's time to dispatch the drone, and Becky sends it on its way. But when it reaches the highway, a passing truck hits it. The driver gets out of the cab, but doesn't notice the device on the ground. Becky loses all hope of salvation. Vultures circle the girls, and thunderclouds appear on the horizon. Becky says she can't make it through another night, and Hunter supports her as best she can. The girls haven't eaten anything in a long time, and their strength is running low. The only thing left to do is to drop the last phone and hope that the messages will reach the recipients. For this, Becky asks Hunter for her second sneaker, but her friend replies that she can't give it to her. Becky doesn't understand why, since Hunter hasn't taken it off all this time.
But I'm down there. Remember?
Becky couldn't handle the horrible truth and was seeing her friend in a hallucination. When Hunter slipped, she didn't land on her backpack, but hit the satellite dish and bled to death. A vulture is feeding on her body. Becky is devastated with grief. A storm soon starts, during which the girl records a farewell message to her father. James has been trying to reach his daughter the whole time, thinking that she is simply ignoring him. In the morning, the vulture sits next to Becca's body and begins to peck on her wound, but the girl, who appeared to be dead, was only luring the bird. She grabs the vulture by the neck and smashes its head against the platform. Becky replenishes her strength with its meat and makes one last attempt to survive. She repeats Hunter's maneuver and jumps onto the satellite dish. Once next to her friend's body, she scares the vulture away. Survival of the fittest. She texts her father where she is located and hides the phone inside Hunter's wound. She apologizes to her friend and throws her body down so the message can reach its destination. The girl is left sitting on the plate, wobbling in the wind. Her plan works, and soon James rushes to the tower. He arrives at the site where he sees the rescuers packing a body into a bag. The man is horrified, but Becky is already rushing into his arms.
I thought that was me.
Daddy, I love you. Sorry.
As always, look for the name of the movie in the video description. In the meantime, let us know in the comments, how do you cope with your fears? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video so that more awesome stories come out as often as possible.